This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good looking friends. So, more headlines coming out about Prince Harry and the potential move to Portugal with this new vacation home. We're seeing more and more of these articles of Harry and Meghan doing this so called professional split and Harry looking to reconcile with his family. So, today in the New York Post released Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's rumored Portugal move signals attempt at royal reconciliation. So, Harry hasn't been seen since his trip to New York, London, and Africa, with many speculating on his whereabouts. There have been rumors that he is somewhere in a rehab facility. There are other people saying that Harry filed for divorce and he's hiding out in the UK, and Meghan doesn't know where he's at. Nobody knows where this guy is, and that would mean that he is well protected. But in any case, we're starting to see these articles of Harry, seeking some type of reconciliation and going back to the UK because he misses his family and doing his royal duties. And I've stated before, I'm following these tabloid articles because this is how Charles and Diana communicated with one another when they were about to get divorced. This article from the LA Times in 1993 explains how both Charles and Diana used the tabloid magazines to leak information about what was going on in their sordid relationship. It somehow feels like Harry and Meghan are doing the same exact thing. And this week in Closer magazine, which is a British based UK tabloid magazine, there is an article of Meghan asserting herself, saying, "If you reconcile with your family, I am coming with you. I will not be tossed aside." It's a truly comical piece because it does sound very much like something Meghan would say and put out there almost as a threat to Harry, but you never know. In any case, this was the magazine I believe Omid Scobie used to work at and write stories for. So Meghan putting an article into this magazine is not too far of a stretch. But you tell me if you think it's her. So, with this headliner, if you return to your family, I'm coming too. Insiders say Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's new house purchase is a sign the pair are ready to swallow their pride and reunite with the royal family on their terms. Right out the gate, it feels very Meghan, with her asserting herself and saying it's on my terms if I come back to the family, as if like she's some kind of prize. If Meghan is behind this article, it shows you how warped her mind is if she thinks that the royal family needs her more than she needs them. Like on her terms, like, okay, well, you stay in Montecito. Rumors of an impending split have been swirling around Prince Harry and Meghan Markle for months as the couple continue to lead increasingly separate lives. But after reporting last week that Kate Middleton had hoped that the distance between the couple could finally open the long shut doors on a family reunion between Harry and the royals, Closer is now told that Meghan has been working on her own plan to ensure she's not pushed out. All right, so now for the last several weeks, ever since Harry went off to New York, London, and Africa, we started to see these stories coming out about Harry and Meghan going in separate directions and Harry not being seen for so many days. And you have these tabloid magazines week after week with Meghan on the cover. Obviously, something is going on. At this point, there's just way too many articles that are talking about this, and the Harkles have not come out to refute any of it. Now, the other thing that I noticed is that the palace hasn't made any kind of subtle gesture to indicate otherwise. Normally, we have seen in the past, they do come out and they do something or they say something or their choice of words do separate or distance themselves from the couple. But being now week after week, we're hearing that Harry has been reaching out to Catherine and Catherine's trying to mend this relationship. I mean, you never know. You never know what's going on behind the scenes. And the fact that the palace hasn't even made a simple, subtle indication that that's not the case, to me, I feel like it's a small clue. Now, if you're in the camp with me and feeling like this whole thing has been a major psyops, which I do believe it has been, even on the royal family, I think the royal family had been bamboozled by this woman, Meghan. And by the time they figured out what she was all about, it was too late. But in this case, this operation or mission that Harry and Meghan have been on, has spectacularly failed. Like, they didn't collapse the First Amendment. We have now moving into this election season to where there is a very high probability that Trump's going to get into office, and the special privileges and benefits that Harry had been getting in the USA is not going to happen anymore once Donald Trump takes office. So I believe that this mission is now being aborted and they are collapsing the operation with Harry and Meghan. So now we're starting to see these narratives pop up and where Harry wants to separate and he's going off on his own to do his own thing. And, they will split time with the kids. And if Meghan moves to Portugal, then potentially she just will fade into obscurity and we never hear from her again, God willing. Following reports that she and Harry have recently purchased a property in Portugal, a source reveals that their new European home means that Meghan will be close enough to fly back to the UK and finally face the royals in what is likely to be an explosive showdown. No, Meghan will never be in the presence of Princess Catherine ever again. We all know this, and even if she had the opportunity to be in such vicinity of her, you can guarantee that Meghan would avoid it because she's a coward. Look how she handled the Queen's funeral. She hasn't been back since, nor have the family been around her since. So I highly doubt that that day will ever come, Meghan. And what we're going to see are more stories like this coming out about how Meghan is the bigger person and knows that even though the family had treated her so terribly, she's willing to face them and look them in the eye because it's their conscience that's going to feel bad for what they did to her. The insider says the wounds Meghan suffered from her experiences in the royal family still cut very deep. Since all the drama over her and Harry's split from the firm, she's been incredibly nervous about facing them again. But now she accepts it's got to be done. Meghan's stance is that if Harry is going to go back and make a deal with the royals, she needs to be a part of it as well. She wants to show them they can't just trample all over her and then have Harry come back on his own as though she can be tossed aside. I almost wish I could go back to the time where I knew nothing about Meghan and Harry. But whenever I read these articles now and I'm listening to some of the things people are saying, I struggle to understand how they're not getting sued every single day. As is, we have witnessed Meghan lie on such a scale that not only did she hurt the Queen and made her cry, but she also contributed to accelerating the deaths of not only Prince Philip, but also the Queen with everything that her and her dimwit prince had been doing. The good news is that she and the children can make their Portugal home a base, and she can fly over to the UK for a few hours with Harry to make her presence felt. you know? And to have this delusion of, oh, I am going to be there and I will be in their faces 24/7 and they're not going to be able to get rid of me and I'll show them is really not going to get them to start to like you. I mean, you do understand that, Meghan. You do understand that the more you shove your face in everybody's space, the more that people are just going to want to stay away from you. This woman is such a parasite, and the only way that they can get rid of this woman is if they find another host for her to latch onto. And that's the thing. If Harry really wants to get out of this, he really does need to find somebody else for Meghan so she can forget about the family, because Meghan's not going to leave or go anywhere unless she has something else waiting for her. And I think that's where the problem is right now, is that she can't find something that will replace Harry and the status as well as the money that the royal family has. So they're pretty much stuck with this, which is sad. But she's made it clear to Harry that this does not mean she's going to make this easy for him after everything she's been through. Really, Meghan? After everything that you've been through? What about everything that the royal family has been through? At the end of the day, you know what's really eating Meghan up inside? It's the fact that with all the attacks that she has unleashed onto the family, she didn't get the reaction. And that's the one thing that Meghan is truly angry about. And that's why she continues to be a thorn in their side, because she does think that at some point the family will have no choice than to react and respond because that's what she wants. But sadly, the royal family doesn't play what Meghan wants, Meghan gets. And they're showing her that they don't need her. It's approaching 5 years since Meghan, 43, and Harry, 40, first stepped down as working royals to settle in the exclusive enclave of Montecito, California, where they still live with their two children, Archie, 5, and little Betty, 3. While Meghan has returned to the UK just twice since and for the late Queen's Jubilee and funeral, both in 2022, Harry's trips have become more and more frequent. This is following the court ruling in May that he is now able to appeal a previous decision to strip him of publicly funded security during his visits, although it is yet to go ahead. I also think that a lot of the PR that we saw about Harry was to create these optics that he is this dignitary, and being that he was going to these various countries and they were giving him the security as if he was a working royal, why shouldn't the UK give it to him, especially if he's going to be back more frequently and doing his life of service and taking that seriously? I honestly feel like this is another manipulation by this couple. Shrewd move. Buying in Portugal is a shrewd move for Meghan. She's deeply concerned that the royal family might manipulate Harry into reintegrating without her, so she needs to be proactive to make sure she is not isolated or pushed to the sidelines, the source adds. Now, if it is deemed safe from a security standpoint, it's likely she'll give her blessing for Harry to take Archie and little Betty to see their grandpa, King Charles, at some point. The more and more that they talk about these invisible children, the more ridiculous it's getting. Like, after reading this last line, it really does sound like Meghan is holding these two invisible children as hostages and using them as pawns against the family. Like, the king doesn't care to meet these children anymore. Like, that novelty has gone. He's got many other grandchildren to keep him occupied. Another thing that drives me mad in this whole saga is seeing in these types of magazines, I'm talking about King Charles not being able to get to know his grandkids. Well, whose fault is that? And then in addition to that, there's another grandparent that is more than willing to meet his grandchildren, but you choose to ignore that. Yeah, one of the things that drives me absolute crazy is the fact that everything about this couple is just so murky. Nothing that they ever say or do is ever straightforward. Even down to the simplest things as Meghan's birthday, there shouldn't be that much controversy over it. You know what I mean? And then you have the mystery around these two invisible children in the line of succession, and the royal family is just going along with it without giving any type of clarification to the public, even though they're owed that. To me, is wild. And in terms of logistics, having a place in Portugal will make that easier because Meghan can fly over with the kids without feeling trapped. And while the pair were stripped of a UK base when King Charles evicted them from Frogmore Cottage in 2023, Portugal provides the perfect retreat. Not only does it allow them to gain a golden visa, giving them access to travel within the EU, it also allows them to be closer to Harry's cousin and their close confidant, Princess Eugenie, and her husband Jack Brooksbank, who own a property on the luxury Costa Terra resort. It's fascinating to watch how they build these narratives. Literally 2 weeks ago was when this rumor was seeded of Harry and Meghan looking for a place in Portugal, possibly near Eugenie. Fast forward 2 weeks later, now all of a sudden they have this $4.7 million home in a villa that's near where Eugenie and Jack Brooksbank bought a place. And now we're building upon, well, this will be their place, so it will be a shorter commute to the UK if Harry wants to go home and visit his family with the kids. Does anybody believe that they bought a $4.7 million villa? I don't. But anyway, this gives every indication that Harry is trying to get back to the UK because Harry and Meghan never shut down the rumors about them moving to Portugal, and now all of a sudden it's taken on this life of its own to where now it's being used as the vehicle for Harry to get back home. The source adds, after Harry talked about wanting to get a place in England, a compromise had to be worked out, and Portugal made the most sense, especially because Eugenie and Jack are nearby. At the end of the day, Meghan's making a huge concession, and it does feel to some extent that she's given up after vowing to stay away from the royals until she had an apology. I think Meghan has come to the realization that she's never going to get an apology, and she has no choice but to concede. right now she has nothing left, and she's trying to figure her way back into the family with Harry. And I think this little article here is telling him, look, I'm going to meet you halfway and I'm going to do part of it, but it's my way. It's still my way, but I'm willing to do this. And I think this is why this article came out. But still, like, she is in no position to be the one to call the shots on this. No position, which I find like hilarious in this article because that gives me the indication it's from her. Because in her little deluded mind, she honestly believes that she was wronged and that she is such a treasure to this family that they're going to beg for her to come back. But, it's not happening. Meghan has run out of options. Literally, she screwed herself every which way to Sunday. And now, even the last resort, which was politics, is not even a viable option for her anymore. What else does she have left? Nothing. Something radical had to be done, hence this big step back and a whole new approach. Whatever game that Meghan and the people that have been supporting and backing this woman have been playing is not working. People have figured it out. People see her for who she is. And I'm just wondering, like, where does she go next? I think the only way for this to resolve itself is for her to finally come clean. They need to come clean in order to move forward. Otherwise, this is just going around and around and around in circles, and people are just bored. I know that I'm bored with these stupid articles. Like, it's the same shit, but different day. Go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off already on this divorce and let's get on with it. Other than that, stop polluting the media space with this garbage. That's all I have to say, but what do you guys think? How much longer do you think this is going to go on? Definitely let me know your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe and I'll talk to you later. Bye!
Such a fraud.